So I began to study on cell phone towers. And as I began to study on cell phone towers, God was kind of ministering to me and asked me the question. He said, Cory, how often do you lose reception in your life? How often am I speaking to you about a certain subject or speaking to you about a certain topic, and it's something that you don't want to hear, and so your phone drops or the reception is lost in your phone? The second question that God asked me as it relates to cell phones and how it parallels to our life, God said that some of you all in this room are simply just roaming. Somebody say amen. What roaming is, what happens when you roam is when you get caught between one tower and another tower and you lose reception. It is the moment when you lose reception, and it's right before you pick up reception, your phone or your life goes into roaming. Somebody say amen. And what's happening is your phone is back and forth looking for a signal. And how many of you know that when you get into roaming, it may cost you something? Yeah, well, I don't know about the modern day telephones, but I remember back in the day when I had a phone, if I went into roaming, it cost me something additional because I was looking for something. I was looking for love in all of the wrong places. I started connecting myself up in relationships that were ungodly. I started doing stuff that God hadn't told me to do. Turn to them and say, stop roaming. What happens when you roaming is when you're not connected to a church. Somebody say, get connected. Yes, some folk don't feel like you need to be connected to the house of the Lord, but the Bible that I read says that they that be planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God and shall bring forth fruit in old age. Will the quiet church say amen? And so we're talking about, can you hear God? And what I found out is the reason that some of us cannot hear God is because we have gotten stuck. We've gotten paralyzed. We've gotten stagnated in this roaming stage. In other words, this roaming stage means that you have lost your signal, and what causes you to lose your signal is sin. This may not be a shout message, but we're going to talk today. What causes us to lose our signal, what causes us to get to a place where God is not speaking, or better yet, he's still speaking, but we cannot hear, is because some sin, attaches in our life, and we stop listening to God, we stop listening for God, and we start listening to the thing that is enticing and pleasing to our flesh. Amen, somebody. I believe if I could speak prophetically, I would say that the church of God today, the body of Christ, is paralyzed in a roaming state. Oh, yes. That's why you can go to church and you can get everything but the pure gospel. I wish I had somebody say hallelujah. You can go to some churches, you can find everything. You can find chicken sales. Glory to God. You can find bake sales. You can find some booty sales. Will the quiet church say amen? Amen. From the rooter to the tutor. Amen. Y'all don't get mad at me today, huh? Just trying to keep it real. The modern day church has lost it. We've lost it. And if you look in the text in Samuel, we understand why we lost it. We lost it because I told you last week that we've got fathers, we've got preachers, we've got pastors and bishops that don't have a backbone, and they won't speak against sin, and they allow their sons and daughters of the gospel to just freely roam and do whatever they want to do. Somebody say hallelujah. That was the problem in the book in Samuel. Eli had two sons that were still in the offering. He was sleeping with the women in the church, and Eli did not have enough courage to speak to his sons, sit them down, and tell them that this is not what God is calling for. Somebody say new direction. How many of you all know some church folk, y'all know pastors who know that their praise and worship leader is gay? They know that their musician is sleeping with women in the church. I wish y'all would say something to me today. Amen. But they're so intoxicated with their gift that they won't challenge their character. And what they're trying to do is, instead of raise up a kingdom generation, they're trying to increase their church, and folks are dying and going to hell. We're living in a time where the church cannot hear, and the reason that we cannot hear is because we too busy trying to look good. We too busy on K104 and on the internet, and all this stuff is clogging up our receptors. All of this stuff is clogging it up. We cannot hear because we've stopped listening. Somebody say amen. I don't know why I got on that, but God told me to ask you this question: what does your spiritual coverage look like? When you go to purchase a cell phone, so Derek, they pull out a map and they tell you this is our coverage area. This is where reception is great. This is where reception drops off. And I'm getting ready to preach, but I'm going to ask you a question. How big is your spiritual map? When you get depressed, do you still hear God? When your finances are funny and your change is strange, can you still hear God?